10 days until the Super Bowl. It's 7 years ago today, the Kansas City Chiefs decided to trade Alex Smith to Washington. So we're at the Super Bowl. We had gotten word that Alex Smith was probably going to be traded. He was with us on the show, and we couldn't get anything out of him. But he knew, but he didn't really know where he was going. He knew that he was going to be traded from Kansas City. And then we get done with our show in Minneapolis. 2 hours later, Alex Smith is traded to Washington for a defensive back and a third-round pick. He had gone 9-6 as a starter in Kansas City in 2017. In the previous 4 seasons, he had won 11 games 3 times. And his stats when he was traded from Kansas City, 2017, he threw for 4,000 yards. He had 26 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Those are good numbers, but they knew what they had with Patrick Mahomes. They traded up to get Mahomes, and Alex Smith was dead man walking. This happened with San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick. Jim Harbaugh made that move, but Andy Reid made a move. The Kansas City Chiefs made a move that changed NFL history and paved the way for AFC title games, Super Bowls, and maybe what will turn out to be the greatest quarterback in history. That was 7 years ago today. And I remember talking to Paulie. I go, how do I get that information out of him? Because he's smart enough to know that I'm going to ask him about it. Does he really know you don't want to ruin the deal. And he was going to get a lot of money. I think he got a 4-year extension around 90-some million, 71 million guaranteed. He was going to do well. Now, we know that he got injured with Washington, but he had a good career. He had good numbers with San Francisco, good numbers with Kansas City, and then his career cut short with the injury in Washington. But 7 years ago, taking a chance. And taking a chance 8 years ago when you think about what they did in the draft. And the fact that the New Orleans Saints, and Sean Payton said this, they were taking Patrick Mahomes. How would NFL history look if the Saints had taken him? What would that have meant for Drew Brees? And Brees getting older, Sean Payton sees what he sees in Patrick Mahomes. I've got my heir apparent right here. Well, Alex Smith wasn't old, but Andy Reid saw something that maybe others didn't. Sean Payton did. Now, there are a lot of coaches. It's like with Russell Wilson. Yeah, we were going to take him. Well, you could have. The first round or the second round, even in the third round, you could have taken him. Everybody after the fact. But Sean Payton said, hey, we wanted him. Kansas City was going to go get him. And it was during that week, an NFL scout, source of mine, said, you should get Patrick Mahomes on. He's moving up the draft board. And I said to Fritzy, hey, see if we can get Mahomes. Now, we couldn't, but, I was given a heads up that he was moving up. Didn't know where, but he was moving up. And then he lands in Kansas City, and you're like, God, why would they go get him? Alex Smith's a good quarterback. And then we realized soon after that, when he threw for 50 touchdowns, who was the quarterback prior to Patrick Mahomes? That was Alex Smith. And even the draft profile. He was going to be, the second coming of Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. Those games, nobody played defense in the Big 12, which is true, but I don't think people saw the intelligence of Patrick Mahomes. I think they just saw that he kind of ran around. Texas Tech, unless you really love football, you're not going to find Texas Tech games unless they're playing against somebody. The first time I saw him, it was Oklahoma State. And, they're always shootouts. It's like 42-40. And I kept thinking, well, it's another Texas Tech quarterback. They always have big numbers. Mike Leach always has that offense. They're going to get, 35, 40 points. They'll lead the nation in passing. But then they don't do anything in the NFL. But Mahomes was different. Yeah, Paulie.
The draft profile, we've talked about this from NFL.com, inconsistent, gunslinger, reckless, not an athlete, more of a scrambler. They critique his throwing motion. The word project is used on a couple different websites, but the Chiefs, they didn't start in week 4. They didn't have to start in week 4. I don't know how much that helped his rookie year.
Yeah, you have Alex Smith, and I think Mahomes has talked about, Brady's talked about this. He wasn't ready to start. He needed to sit and watch and kind of understand how the game moves, at what pace. And Mahomes has talked about that he got to learn under Alex Smith. Now, I don't think Alex Smith knew that, hey, I'm going to give you all the secrets, and then all of a sudden, wait a minute, what are we doing? Do you have Alex Smith at the Super Bowl? So this is 7 years ago this morning that we had Alex Smith on, and I'm trying to get him to tell me where he's going to be traded. Where are you going to be playing next year?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get much right now. I got nothing. Sorry to disappoint. I got absolutely nothing
Alex.
for you that's going to.
Do you know in your head, you just can't tell me?
No, I mean, I wish I knew. Listen, I got a year under contract there in Kansas City. I mean, that's.
Is there
I
a
wish I
chance
was
you're
in
back
control of this thing, right? I mean,
I know.
I wish I was the one that got to be able to do this. That's just not the reality.
Okay,
right?
but if you were in control, what would you do?
What do you? Tough. Listen, like I said, I mean, you're not going to like this answer at all. I mean, I love where I'm at, right? I felt like we underachieved. I felt like we, as offensively last year, did some awesome things. So, but who knows? Right? I've been playing long enough. I've been through this before.
I know
the trade deal, so I'm not naive to it. This is a crazy business. A lot of crazy stuff can happen.
And then he was traded to Washington for Kendall Fuller and a third-round draft pick. But he got $94 million deal, $71 million guaranteed. If you go through the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, that's what it sounded like, Alex Smith. So Paulie asked me the question, I'll be Alex Smith.
What would you do if you were in control?
A-E-I-O-U. Sometimes why? Yeah, he knew something. He had to know something because those deals don't get done that quickly. It's like when free agency starts, and it's like 12:01, they got a deal done in a minute. No tampering here. But Alex, he had to move on, and he'll be the Trivial Pursuit question or answer of who was the quarterback prior to Patrick Mahomes.